So I identified as bisexual, and that was just very comfortable. I wrote a piece that I think I sent you about being biracial and bisexual. I was asked to do that, to write that piece. And it's funny because when I wrote that, I remember one of my colleagues who was reviewing my materials for tenure or something, she said, "You're very brave." And I didn't feel brave. I didn't realize I was being brave. It's funny how once I identified that way, it didn't faze me at all. So then, more recently, in the last few years, I had started to become aware of this critique of bisexuality, that it perpetuates gender dichotomy. And because it's the word bi, and so bi means two, and so it's attraction to women and men, and that's two, and that's only two. And I was like, that's not the way I see things. I don't mean to do that. And at the same time, bisexuality, it still felt like the right label for me. It's a label I had had for many years at that point. And I'm going to say the other thing about it, so there's a lot that I didn't talk about in the TED Talk about this, and one of the things that I didn't say in there is bisexuality is radical. It's really radical, because it says gender doesn't have to be the most important characteristic, and you don't have to be attracted to only one gender, and it's certainly no more dichotomous than being heterosexual or lesbian or gay is, and yet it's getting this critique. And so I actually think some of the critique is really, there's a bi-negativity about it, I think. And, I think bisexual and transgender people, and especially gender non-binary people, are the most marginalized within LGBT communities. And to pit them against each other is, I just think, tragic. Because I think they've not only got potential to be allies, there's been a lot of allyship in there, and so there's there's something about that critique. But at the same time, that critique made me think more and think more about, okay, well, what does this all mean, and what is my view of gender? That informs my sexual orientation. And I thought, all right, well, I think gender is multidimensional. I think it's not just one continuum, probably it's many. And my sexual orientation, I can say I'm bisexual. That doesn't mean I'm attracted to only men and women. It means I'm attracted to more than one gender. That's the way a lot of people define bisexuality. But I still want to keep this label. But maybe there's some other label that will describe the way I think about gender. So so that's where I came up with, actually, I didn't even come up with this. I want to give credit. I went to dinner with my friends, Roger Worthington and Rebecca Toporek, and I was talking about this issue. I said, well, what am I going to call myself then? How do I reconcile this thing of not wanting to be, oppressive to transgender and gender non-binary people, and at the same time maintaining this? And so Roger was actually the one who first said the word.
Okay.
What about bisexual? And I was like, oh, it's brilliant, because it's infinite and it's complex, and all of this, and that just that seemed like a way of being educational and a little lighthearted, and at the same time being able to respond to this in some way that might broaden everybody's thinking.